Well, today I can't sculpt. I got a gentleman who's possibly interested in a clay of mine called Real Wealth. I've got to pick up the clay from the gallery here in Annis. Hopefully they're open today. And then I've got to take it to the foundry in Bozeman, which is about probably 60, 70 miles from here. Anyway, so I'm going to be driving today, and I'll show you a little bit of the trip. Well, I was going to go to the foundry and take the clay, but the gallery is closed till next Monday, so I can't pick up the clay to take over to the foundry, so I'm going to go back home and let the client know. All right, we'll see if we can get back on that clay this afternoon. And it's exasperating, but that's the life of an artist. Time to play with some clay. Well, first thing I'm going to do is work on Sitting Bull's braids. It looks like he's got a braid that goes from there down to there, and then from there down is covered in otter skin or some kind of fur. Alright, I got the braids started. Now I got to do the wrapped part of the hair. I'll set these aside. I have to make a tool to put some texture in the braid or the wrap, because it is fur. Okay, I'm just going to try it and see what happens. It's pretty good right there. It's not a real furry fur, it's just a tight fur, like maybe otter skin or something like that. I'll come back and do that later.
My ancestors on my dad's side came out west in the 1840s, and a journal that my great-great-grandfather kept talked about the Native Americans they came in contact with, the different tribes along the Platte River in Nebraska, or what would be eventually Nebraska. And they treated them as well as they were treated, and so I remember one passage in my great-great-grandfather's journal where he talks about they were on the Platte River, and up on a bluff overlooking the wagon train, they saw a huge party of Cheyenne, and they didn't know whether they were going to be attacked or not, so one of the pioneers jumped on a horse and started riding towards the Native Americans, or the Cheyenne, and he stood up on the back of the horse and danced on the back of the horse while the horse was running. The Indians thought there was a crazy man in the wagon train, so they turned around and left, because they respected those who were a little light in the loafers, you might say. Even though he wasn't, it fooled them, and they left the wagon train alone. The only danger in the wagon train was the inexperience of the people who were part of the wagon train. People who had never ridden a horse before, or even handled a gun before, because they were all city folk. Imagine somebody from New York being stuck out west all of a sudden and having to survive and having to ride horses and learn to shoot and defend themselves. Try to imagine that. You can't. They were brave people too, driven out west because people who persecuted them drove them out west. My great-great-grandfather was a Mormon pioneer, and he built a lot of the wagons. He built a lot of the wagons they came out on. He was a wheelwright. He built wagons and all kinds of four-wheeled or two-wheeled vehicles. I'm very proud of my ancestry. They settled in a valley near the Great Salt Lake and turned a desert into an absolute garden. There was one tree in that valley when they moved in to the valley in 1847. And today the valley is just covered with trees. And they survived. I was driving down to LA for a show one time, and I drove through central Utah, and then you pass a fort called Cove Fort. and it's a museum now. It used to be a fort that was built by the Borman pioneers. And what was fascinating was how the pioneers didn't waste anything. A crib for a baby, when the baby grew out of the crib, they turned the thing over, and it was built in such a way that it becomes a coffee table. Although they didn't drink coffee, but it was, they could turn it over and turn it into a stool or whatever, but they didn't waste anything. There weren't any garbage dumps because everything was used. It's not like today. This is a throwaway society today. If we had to, we'd learn to do it all again. It wouldn't be easy though. Well, that's as far as I'm going to go today. I'm happy with how that turned out. I was a little apprehensive to start today because I didn't know if I'd be able to do it well. But I think I did okay. I got some areas to fill in, such as right in here. You can see there's a big empty space in there, and I can't leave it that way because the, pardon the bouncing camera, but I don't know how to hold it any other way. I've got areas to fill in under behind this arm here and down in here. It's got to be filled in. And then I've got his scalp lock to do yet. Okay, that's Sitting Bull today. And I'll see you guys next time.
Give me a thumbs up and share my video. And then check out my instructional DVDs, the link down below this video. All right, see you next time.